Before we get into today's episode, I have an extra fun announcement. On October 8th, we are having an Undiet Cookbook celebration party. We are marking the 10th anniversary of the release of the little book that went on to become a #1 bestseller, won gold at the Taste Canada Awards, and ultimately was the textbook for the Culinary Nutrition Expert Program. To mark this momentous occasion, I am offering an absolutely free live online culinary nutrition cooking demo, or how I used to call it, a cooking party. You want to be there. All you have to do is subscribe to my Substack or get your name on a list, any list. You can fill out any of the opt-in forms at fun.meghantelpner.com, and you will receive the formal login details to join this live online, totally free culinary nutrition extravaganza. It will be live only, so mark your calendar, October 8th, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. You want to be there. I'm going to be cooking up a couple of the recipes from the Undiet Cookbook. We'll be connecting as a community, old school styles. I cannot wait to see you there. Oh, I'm also going to be offering for a 3-day limited time the absolute best offer we've ever had on the Culinary One Pass. This is your one-stop shop to access all of the courses I created for the Academy of Culinary Nutrition over the last 10 years. So your next step is to go to fun.meghantelpner.com, opt in anywhere on the website, or subscribe to my Substack, and you will get the information to join. Invite all your friends. We got room for 500. I hope someone shows up. I really am excited to put on the old hat or the vintage dress, as the case may be, and do a little song and dance for vibrant health, vibrant living, courageous pivoting, living from the heart, and doing that with you there. All right, let's get on with today's episode. My friends, it's another beautiful day and another beautiful episode of the Courageous Pivot podcast. I'm your host, Meghan Telpner, and I have another extra super special guest joining me today. Her name is Sarah Carter. She is a long-time friend of mine. We met, I remember meeting her when we were about 15 years old. We both grew up in Winnipeg, and we went to the same summer camp. And then we went to university together, though Sarah left after the first year, which we talk about in our interview. Sarah went on to become an actor in Hollywood and made it. She is such a warm and delightful, beautiful person. We don't talk very regularly, a text here and there, but she's one of those friends that I trust that I will know my whole life long. And every time we connect, it's like instantly we go right into the depth of our hearts. This conversation was no different. I will share with you her official bio, which goes like this. Sarah Carter is a filmmaker, actor, musician, and creative mentor devoted to truth, beauty, and emotional intelligence. She is the founder of Cheshire Moon Productions and Petit Salons. Her work explores the interaction of story and spirit. Sarah empowers artists to reclaim their voice, instinct, and creative sovereignty through film, mentorship, and ritual. Sarah is such a deeply feeling person, a creative spark. I adore her. I loved this conversation. We could have gone on forever. And those of you who watch it will notice partway through I take off my glasses when I realize that I was not even going to touch the 6 pages of preparation notes I put together for this interview. The conversation just flowed, and I feel like you will tune into her challenges that she has, the successes for sure. But I feel like it was important and grateful that Sarah was so open and honest and vulnerable about the challenges she still faces, even in amongst a very successful career doing something that very few succeed at. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Sarah. Welcome, Sarah Carter, to the Courageous Pivot podcast.
Thank you, Megan. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy for you to be here. And it's funny because we've known each other for, 30 years maybe. I remember when I first met you, and we don't talk very regularly at all, but I turned this on and we just went straight into it. There was no small talk.
I know. I just feel like we're on very similar paths, and we always have been on these paths of creativity and listening to our impulses. You were in fashion at Ryerson when we really started to hang out, and I was in theater. And even at that point, I'd chosen to go into the theater program over going into this art therapy program at Concordia University in Montreal, because I had always known that there was something for me in the creative process being healing that was similar to, what happens in the black box of a theater space. And now I understand it's that I'm obsessed with tapping into a collective field. So when it's in the black box, it's obvious, right? Everybody's
Yes.
in the same space, having a shared experience, and there's something speaking to that group of people that you can so clearly tap into, and it changes every night. So now I'm living my life, filmmaking, where it's similar. You're creating a collective field, but then as your project expands into the world, you start to become sensitive to this collective consciousness. Oh, who's going to see my film? Who's going to experience my film? Now I'm in Italy. Now I'm in Germany. It's actually having an effect. And who are the people who are following me? And I think you are more successful than me in a lot of ways, but you do something similar where you understand what's needed, and you speak directly to that space, and you sort of lean in and devote an entire creative experience and expression to this thing that you feel is going to serve the collective in a really uplifting and beautiful way. So I'm excited to be talking to you. I actually tried to take your course, the money course, recently, and I failed because I find it so difficult what you're teaching, and we can talk more about that, to devote myself to that kind of, discipline. But I'm curious to talk about where you're at now and how you decided to do this Courageous Pivot podcast, how that fits into what you're offering in your business in terms of organizing your money and finances. And I'm just so impressed with you, and I want to learn from you in this podcast too. I feel like I'm just
Well,
watching you from a distance.
I love when these can flow as conversations because it also takes the pressure off me. I want to start with, do you remember when we first met?
No.
I do because we both grew up in Winnipeg, and I was 10 years old when I moved to Toronto. And I came back all the time because to me, teenagedom in Winnipeg was came across as perfect. It was like, if you think about 90s teenagers, to me, it's what was going on there, where people just cruised around in their parents' car to find what restaurant or what bar everyone was in, or what park, as the case may be, or whose
Yeah.
basement.
Mm-hmm.
And there always felt like this connection that was really strong.
Mm-hmm.
And when I would come back periodically, there'd be new people that infiltrated the crew. And then there was this Sarah Carter was the woman that all the boys talked about. And then I met you, and you were beautiful. Also had faded, dyed purple hair. So it was kind of gray.
Oh, so I must have been 15. I'd
Yeah.
come home from Paris with Kim
With
and
gray
Mia.
hair.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I was in my cousin's Ford Taurus. And that's when we met. And then you were the beautiful Shiksa that came to B'nai B'rith camp.
Aw.
And I always gravitated towards you. You have this beautiful sparkle of energy. And I guess my first question really is, because I know I have a sparkle of energy too. I found being a teenager really difficult
Yeah, me
because I
too.
just did not align. And you were going through it in a much smaller place than I was. So what was
Mm.
that like? And then your experience in kind of leaping to Toronto to be in theater school.
Mm. I love that you're bringing me back to the difficulty of being a teenager and relating to having that spark at an age when conformity is so important. It's a much safer way to be to belong, to fit in. And I was just always curious and wanting to play and experiment. And that made me a target, maybe in some ways. Yeah, when you and I met, I had just come home from this trip that was so formative. Kim Lazarick and I paid our own way to visit Mira in Paris. And we went to see REM live, and we went to, bars, and we also did all the cultural things, into all the right museums. And I remember, like, Kim brought cigarettes, we were smoking cigarettes, but I felt my freedom. And I don't think that ever left me. It was difficult when I was 13 and 14 years old to, I guess I learned through bullying that there was fear and judgment and jealousy that was driving that bullying, because these were my friends who were, you know, gossiping about me or not wanting me to come to the basement party for whatever reason that I didn't understand when I was 13 or 14. But through maintaining deep creative friendships with my closest friends and noticing that, if we're sharing ideas, if we're listening to music together, if we're going to a film together, if we're in the High School Musical together, there was a bond that was unbreakable, that would happen on a soul level. And that connection made me fearless when it came to human nature. Because even though I was experiencing the shadow of human nature as a teenager, I was also experiencing the depth of human love and that, like, creative force, that drive that anybody can tap into in any moment, and you will immediately transcend whatever differences. And it was just, even though it was difficult, it gave me so much courage to become an actor, to try new things, to bond with people that, others might have narratives around, or, groups of people that might be stigmatized, that I have a curiosity about. And, certainly in the world of television, that served me, because I was able to, be in a kids show and play a luchador, and then, be in a Paris Hilton film and travel on a private jet with her, opening clubs all over the world, and then go to China and be in a video game movie run by Harvey Weinstein. But I'm having an experience of China and the culture there, and, opening my heart and mind to new perspectives, and knowing that that's what's driving me, that's what my soul is collecting, and that's what's turning me on. So it very early on became about the adventure of my human experience and how I can truly connect and bond with as many different people along the way. And, once you know that, you can't unknow it. And I think it's very rare. I can now articulate it to you, but I didn't know what was going on along the way. And of course, I was dealing with, oh, do you know what happened on the Harvey Weinstein film, and what was that like with Paris? And I can read people's judgment, but my experience was so fun and so pure and so wild that I was unfazed by it. And then it was, you just, these things happen, and then you're on to the next. And I've only collected what I'm interested in, and the rest is just like garbage.
Those initial friendships from high school, which I also know those girls, and I also went to Paris to meet Mira. I
Oh
think I
yeah,
was
that's
17 or
right.
18 after high school. She was there. That was sort of the start of my solo travel. Was I spent time with her and her then boyfriend and a friend of theirs. Are you still close with the same friends? Do you have the connections with people you grew up with?
Yeah, I got a text message from Kim this morning. She's trying to get four of us who live in LA, Joanna, Jenny, and Kim, to go to the Erica Badu concert, which I actually remember that album coming out when you and I were in Ryerson. Yes, I'm really close with all of the high school friends and talk
Hmm.
to Mira
That's
about
really
this.
special. I have friends now that offer that creative freedom, which is interesting. One of them was my operations director for several years. And after I scaled down my company, we were able to become best friends, which is really nice. And what I acknowledged in her in working with her was that she lended that confidence that I could do anything, because that's what,
Mhm.
genuine connection can offer. I didn't have that for the longest time, especially not as a teenager, not in my early 20s, not until I kind of entered the world that I found myself in sort of towards the end of my 20s, early 30s. But as a result of that, I don't have a lot of relationships from childhood anymore, from the
Mm,
first half of my life, I'd say, because the pivot was so dramatic from trying to fit in when it was out of alignment to finding who I was and being courageous enough to be that person. And
right.
it wasn't a fit, which is absolutely fine. It's sort of the path a lot of people end up taking.
Hmm.
But it's beautiful that you had that and you found that when you were young. It's rare.
It's very rare. And in some ways, I feel like because I was a chameleon, and that was something that I gave myself permission to be at a very early age. I didn't have to fully identify with an expression, or maybe let's call it a brand. I gave myself a lot of space by having a more mercurial outer, I guess, effect. And I was okay being, you know, whoever you think I am in a moment. I'm meeting a new person, and maybe my way in is I'm an actor and we're bonding because I'm an actor and we're, relating to that world together. But then as you get deeper into the friendship, it becomes more than relating over, whatever initially brought us together. And there are only a core few that have remained in that inner circle space, but I've never been very good at small talk. Again, I'm terrible. I'm terrible at small talk, and I think it's because it terrifies me.
Yeah.
The more that I relax into, well, I guess, yeah, more recently, I'm still in a bit of a vulnerability hangover, honestly, after launching my new website. This new website is the first attempt I have ever made to have people understand what it is that I do, what I care about, what my mission is in the world. And you have done that many times. And you've been so widely recognized for those movements and that kind of branding. I think, had I done what I'm doing now at an earlier stage, I wouldn't have had the courage because I was so reliant on people thinking I am what they want me to be in order to make money, or for whatever artistic expression I was, putting out there. So I think I now would arguably be my biggest courageous pivot, but the irony is that I'm just aligning authentically with, what it is that I've always done and doing my best to articulate it. And from this place, it's really, it's terrifying because not everyone's going to like it. And that's pretty textbook, right? The more honest you are about who you are, the more people can reject you.
My experience has been, and maybe this will give you a little nudge of confidence around this, is that when you can fully express yourself exactly who you are in the moment, like you're expressing within alignment as who you are today, the fact that not everyone is going to, quote unquote, like you or agree with you, or it becomes less important, because as I know that, like life is an energetic frequency. And so those that are ready to resonate at the level you're on, and not like as a hierarchy, and you're not better than or worse than or anything like that, but those that are on that frequency will find you. And it's more powerful. You have 10 powerful connections of people who are like, I love what you're doing and this matters, more than being as bland as you can to appeal to 10,000,
Yeah.
or having to be what's no longer in alignment, which is what ultimately makes us sick in some way, spiritually,
Mhm.
physically, psychically. So the more you start doing it, it becomes like this, it's addictive because it's so
Mm.
liberating.
Yeah. And I think the fear that comes with that kind of exposure of self and soul, it's also a vibration. I've had the experience of putting myself out there on stages and films. Just, you know, it gives you a rush, right? On the other side. So you're terrified, sometimes so terrified you want to black out. You don't even want to exist anymore. But once you step into the spotlight and you open and you channel whatever, for me, it's usually story. But for you, for both of us, it could be information that wants to come through, whatever download you authentically feel moving through you to share. That level of capacity to really connect, to really touch other people who are receptive, like you're saying, who are either open enough to let themselves be touched and start to vibrate in a new way so that you're real, and that's what it is to go to a concert with thousands of people and the music opens everybody's hearts and brings them into a new frequency. That's what we each have the capacity to do as individuals. And so, as terrified as I am right now to start putting myself out there in the way that says, this is my soul frequency. This is what I do. This is what I care about. This is what I see in you, your potential. I will be a reflector for you so that we can play essentially. A lot of the loneliness I experienced in my life being a spark like yourself was that people couldn't play, you know? Like, let's go.
Yeah.
What are you really thinking? Like, do you see the humor and insanity of this moment? Like, can we just get out here and like, do you see this? And you could always do that. And that's why I think even though we're not, day in, day out friends, you're always available to play, Meghan. And that's why I trust you. I love you. I celebrate you. I'm in awe of you. I'm your student. I'm, a peer. When you're in that space of soul play, it's fluid, So yeah, you've had all these pivots in your life and you've had different missions and journeys with what you're putting out there in the world, but you've always been so aligned with your authenticity. It's like, it's quite remarkable.
Thank you, Sarah. This
Yeah.
wasn't
So it's
supposed to
not
be
like a
about
crazy
me.
spirit. It's just like, I don't know, you just get truer, right?
You do. You do. And I have I have a sensitive nature. I'm an introvert. I don't want to give it all a bunch of labels, but there's people I can hang out with that I look forward to, and that when we're done, it's like I've spiraled up. And then there's like,
Yeah.
so it rained today, And it's very difficult to like, as you go through life to like weed through and be like, oh, there you are. Like, there, I
Mhm.
see you now. Now we can do something cool together, even if
Mhm.
it's a conversation. Like, I have it with my mail lady. Like, we get into the wildest conversations. And she like comes to us near dinner time, sits down on the porch, and like that's the connection I have with Stephanie, my mail lady. But
Yeah.
like I sometimes can't have that with people I've known my whole life because they're just, in the black box, if you will.
Yeah. And someone said to me the other day that this is a well-known concept, but if you compliment a stranger, like truly, genuinely make a point of saying something beautiful to people you don't know regularly, and you just notice what happens to your energy to their energy to your perspective. That's what I mean by play. And
Yeah.
that's what, some people are thrown by that and it makes them suspicious.
It's funny you mentioned that. Our children are almost exactly the same age. And I also feel like you have a special bond with people who are pregnant at the same time as you. But your
Mm-hmm.
daughter was born, I think, almost exactly 2 months after my son. And so my son's 8, and he has started complimenting people when we walk down the sidewalk. Like there's this woman I was with him, and this woman had this
Oh,
bright green hair, and he's like, "That's my kind of hair." And then as we walk by, he goes, "I love that look." And she was sort of taken aback because he's like this little precocious 8-year-old, and she double takes. She's like, "Thanks, man." And it was just such a cute, it was like, that was it. And Finn, my son, he's smiling along and she's smiling along. And it was just this spontaneous interaction that just like sparked them both.
yeah. It's amazing watching our kids. And I think you're right. Just their different stages of development and their little personalities come out. And it's so expansive to us as mothers to have to contain them as they're rebelling and they're becoming themselves and they're, challenging us the older that they get. And I find it so, yeah, it's scary watching my daughter really step into herself and challenge me. And the main thing is like watching her watch me. That's what I wanted to say about your story, is knowing that she has been absorbing everything. And now
Everything.
she's at the age where it's starting to come through her own personality. And good, bad, or otherwise. Luckily, she's so incredible. Oh my gosh, I got very, very lucky. I think I got like so far an easy journey with her. She's just been a little guru and Buddha. But yeah, I guess just having a girl too, it's so important to be honest and liberated and clear and unapologetic and inclusive and body positive. There's just so much that we've gone through as women that you just, and you looking at I'm looking at the world too, just going, oh man.
When I was doing research, and I want to kind of get into your timeline a little bit. When I was doing research to kind of figure out your timeline, I came across a photo of you for sale on eBay in a bikini for like
Oh,
$8.
oh
Like,
wow.
that's so weird.
I don't even know that. I don't even know
I
that
mean,
that.
you look beautiful. It's probably, I
Oh
don't know,
my
you're
God.
probably in your early 20s.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't even imagine what you've been through in that regard, being an actor in Hollywood.
Yeah, just back to what I was saying in the beginning of our conversation. I've just been able to transcend that, or let's just say, maybe be a bit delusional at points in my career in terms of why someone might be interested in me. I chose to not objectify myself. And
Hmm.
so through that whole Me Too movement, I guess it's still very much alive, but I was never flirtatious. I was never leaning into that dynamic of seduction and manipulation. I was always, about the work and the opportunity and the life and the story. And, even when the material that I was hired to work on was, arguably shallow, I would always find some bigger reason to be there, some opportunity to genuinely experience life and genuinely connect with people. So that's what I have to offer from that experience. That's the medicine. That's the way through. That's, no matter how horrible life gets, I have this capacity that I want to impart on everybody. Don't let yourself be objectified.
Yeah.
If that's not what you want to see, don't see it. Let them buy your picture for $8. Let them do whatever they want with that. That's on them. That has nothing to do with me. Nothing. And
Mm.
I didn't even have to work too hard to get to that point because I had such a brutal teenage life. that I was fully armed for that
Right.
this whole Hollywood experience. My skin's pretty thick. But it's not even thick skin. That's the wrong way. In fact, that's the absolute opposite. I'm pretty vulnerable all the time. I'm pretty open all the time. And actually, I find that that is quite disarming for people. That if I really just let them be seen by me, I think everybody, this is what it is. Everybody wants to be seen for who they are. It doesn't matter how dark someone's intentions might be initially. If you can immediately be authentic with somebody, whether it's making them laugh, whether it's pointing out, an absurdity, whether, anything that's human that makes somebody feel like, oh, there's an opportunity for real connect. Oh, this person's not judging me. This person's not afraid of me. This person's not trying to get something from me. I never went around trying to get a job, which I think makes a lot of people very vulnerable in Hollywood. If I'm not in an audition, if I'm not meeting you about, a script, I'm not trying to get a job.
Mm.
And if you want to give me a job, we're going to have another meeting about that. I think that's just kept me pretty safe. And maybe I would be in a different position, honestly, Megan, like full transparency. Had I leaned into some of these opportunities,
Right.
who knows?
How long were you in Ryerson? You left Ryerson for a job. Ryerson being the university we went to.
Mm-hmm.
It's not called Ryerson anymore, but I call it Ryerson.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I don't know.
No need to apologize. It's the school we went to. So you left for a job, an acting job.
Yeah.
When you left as like,
Mhm.
let's call it your first professional pivot, did you
Yeah.
think it was permanent or were you going to
No.
come back to school?
I always thought I was going to come back to school. My mom was sick with breast cancer. She is great now. She's gorgeous, healthier than ever. But there was a scary moment when I was 18 years old. So I wanted to be home with her. And so during the summer after first year of university, I went back to Winnipeg and I was quite scared of what would happen to me, without my mom. And that fear actually drove me into career mode. And one of the first things that they said to us in the theater program was, if you're here to work, if you're here to get a job, leave now. You're going to learn the craft of acting, but maybe one of you will work professionally as an actor. And Megan, I thought to myself, I'm out of here. Like, I am definitely that one. So that summer, I handed out my resume in Winnipeg to every commercial agency. I did some dance commercial for the Exchange District downtown, and I was, Party Girl 3 in a horror movie that was shooting there. And I entered this monologue competition. You had to write your own monologue and record yourself. And I won, and a casting director from Vancouver flew me out to Vancouver that summer, where I didn't know, there was a ton of work from Hollywood. And I just went out for that. She introduced me to 3 agencies. They all wanted to represent me. And I landed the first 6 auditions I went out for, which is incredible. And that taught me too to just, it was following my heart, go home, be with your mom. And then it was never doubt myself, just say yeah. And also, I'm blessed with a mother who always says, go, 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 yes. My mom is the most incredible cheerleader. It makes me emotional to say that because, I can't imagine being my mom because I'm so sort of wild. And she has just been a rock when it comes to believing me and supporting me, taking the hit when I challenge her too. I'm somebody that demands authenticity and demands, I think I was a rough, not teenager, but early 20s because I was so determined to live a
Yeah,
life that was mine.
same. And my mother too stood by me.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Because she wants to protect you,
She
right? And
she didn't know my mom's parenting, which I try and take into my parenting. It was to always allow me to be responsible for the successes and also the consequences of any
Mhm,
decision I made.
mhm.
And she supported all of it. She didn't always understand it, but she supported it. And in my case, when I went through my 20s, I changed jobs all the time. I had some serious health issues. And when I got into alignment and ran my first retreat in St. Lucia, my mom came as one of the guests. She's like, I went through all of that with you. I get to do this with you now.
Aw,
And she came to all my cooking classes, and I had to have like a rule like, Mom, you cannot ask questions until everyone else, all the paid guests have, like, sit in the back row. Otherwise, she'd be in the front with her hand. Like, she was just in for
yeah.
all of it. She's still like trying to sell my books. I'm like, they're out of print. You don't have to sell them anymore.
Aw,
But
yeah,
it's a blessing to have that.
it
Like,
really is. And it's a blessing to know that as a mother, right? The power of that.
yeah,
So I think when you're doing anything that's against the grain, which being a woman and following your heart and being wildly independent, you do need support, whether it's
yeah,
your mother or a circle of friends, your family. Anybody who's putting themselves out there usually has some secret cheerleader, right? Like it's you don't yes, it's you as an individual, but the truth that people maybe don't talk about all the time is there is usually somebody who's, you know,
yeah.
supporting that individual.
I think you can do it without the support, but it comes from a different place. It's like a different drive that isn't always in attunement if it's constantly to prove something to someone. Whereas if you have the support, you're doing it because it's an expression of yourself. It's like a slight shift in the energy around the drive, I think.
Yeah, and actually I think support can often be resistance, like you're talking about, like anything that you're, you know, pushing against specifically, whether it's a movement. I just don't think there's ever a situation where you're, you know, kind of disconnected and putting yourself out there alone. I think either it's a specific resistance, like you're rebelling against a movement
Yeah.
that is powerful and equal and opposite, or you actually have somebody saying, like, go, go, go. Yes.
After you got those jobs in Vancouver, did you feel like you were set? Like you're like, okay, I'm going to be a working actor now and I will get jobs ongoing. And
No,
at
no,
what
I
point?
still don't feel like I'm set. Do you?
Oh, no. Well, I mean, in some ways I do, but I think the entire time I was running the core of my company, every year I felt like it was a fluke. Like the success of it was a fluke. And like
Mhm.
this was the year like the truth was going to come out about it. Like there was nothing to come out. Like it was working, but it was that constant doubt that kept me working really, really hard all the time. I don't feel that anymore. I don't feel that need at all
Oh,
or that
wow.
insecurity.
Thank you for sharing that. That's what I'm dealing with right now. And every job that I've ever been a part of has been a waiting game for when they're going to fire me. Even being in America, I was waiting to be kicked out of the country. Every time I would cross the border, I would think, oh, this is, I bought property here. I got married and I was still worried. Okay,
Right.
no, something's gonna, I still think about that. I was just in Canada and I was worried. They asked me to show a letter crossing the border with my daughter without Kevin. And, I don't belong. Like they don't
Yeah.
want me. They don't want me.
But you continued in acting. in spite of that fear. You didn't like go get a normal, regular, everyday job. You kept doing it. And
Well,
you got great jobs. You had steady jobs for a long
yeah, I never
time.
stopped working. Yeah, I can't do anything else. I don't know how to. That's why I tried to take the money course.
Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that part. But when like, do you look back at the last 20 years? It's been 20, a little bit more than that, probably like 22, almost 25 years since you left Ryerson to start acting. Do you look back at the timeline and you're like, oh yeah, that was pretty consistent work? Like from where I sat as like your audience and I'd see, the Falling Skies and Shark and a cameo in Entourage. Like to me, it looked like a very rarely successful acting career.
Yeah, it was. I did not stop working, and I knew that. I knew that I called acting my lifeline.
Mm,
And underneath that, I was always seeking something more. I was seeking what I have now. So Falling Skies is a perfect example. I'd actually quit the business before I got Falling Skies. And I spent 2 years training in core energetics therapy, wanting to work with incarcerated women. I'd gone to India. I was represented by one of the partners at UTA. And this was, prior to the Me Too movement. He tried to kiss me one night, and I just said, I'm so done with this. This is after I made a ton of money with him, for him, bought my house, and I was driving a Porsche. I was just on top of the world. I sort of like ticked all of the boxes. But I was in writing groups and I was always in the theater and seeking something more meaningful, seeking something deeper to do with my gifts, the gift that I have to help people feel connected, help people feel seen, give people courage to follow their hearts, make people understand how crucial they are to the collective, that everyone, if you follow your dreams, if you follow your desires, you are essential to the bigger picture. I've always lived my life like that. I've always been able to light people up no matter how dark a space they might be in. I genuinely see what's unique and valuable about every person. It really, really moves me. That's why I love acting so much, no matter what the character is, no matter what the context is. My ability to just naturally fall into, oh, this is the unique frequency, as you would say, of this character, and this is how she fits into the over. This is the vibe of the show. All right, leaning into the vibe of the show. Now we're in this pocket, and this is my character's little color within that framework. So I was always working with energy without having the language. And
right.
then get to LA, and there's all this new age language, and going to these wild yoga classes and sound healing ceremonies, and taking mushroom medicine here and there. And this is before it's like a big thing. Now everything's totally open, but I was just rolling in the seeking world, in the healing arts, while having this bubblegum career, going from job to job, and people thinking I'm one thing and me going, okay, whatever. But I was able to just really flow because
Mm-hmm.
I had this fascinating undercurrent that was so connected to my soul. So at the moment that my agent tried to cross the line, I was totally empowered. And I
Mm,
just said, I don't need you. I don't need this. I bought myself a one-way ticket to India. I met Kristen Westall, another high school friend who's totally incredible. She's literally saving the whales every day. We met in India. And then I bought myself a one-way ticket to New York because that was the dream. I wanted to be in theater, and I was sort of stuck in this television world. And then I got a job. I ran out of money basically, and called a friend who was a manager, and I said, I need a job in New York. I want to stay in New York. Just get me an audition for any television show. And I went out for one. It was white collar. I did it. Did this episode of White Collar working in New York. And then I was kind of back, I was back in the scene. So I said, if there's any offers, let me know, but I'm not going to be chasing the dream so much. So I got the day after 2 years of training, the day that I was going to my final weekend of training for this core energetics group therapy, I get a call driving down Sunset Boulevard. Spielberg has a new TV show on TNT. They did the pilot last year. It's been picked up for a whole season, and they want to offer you a role. Offer, not even audition, offer you a role. But they want to see you today. Well, that would mean that I would have to not get my certification for core energetics. So I said, well, if they really want me, they can wait until Tuesday. I said that. Meghan, do you like that is so bold. If they really want me, they can wait until Tuesday. They waited till Tuesday. And I got the job, and that was 5 years of my life back in acting, a character that really moved me, that deeply resonated with fans and people. I was back in Canada. There was so much healing work to be done. I was running around outside all night, essentially playing Capture the Flag on this awesome show. And it was effortless. It was because I was in alignment, because I actually had the courage that this character had. I actually had cultivated that within myself, and I was no longer judging the industry. I truly had healed from any kind of need to prove myself. And that it was so perfect that yes, every episode I was waiting for them to write my character out, and it never happened. I lasted the full 5 years.
I remember when you were here, you invited me to a Halloween party, which, first of all, Halloween parties are like my worst nightmare.
Ah,
I just find it all awkward. And not only that, so I was coming alone to this Halloween party where I'm like, how much costume are people going to be wearing? And then I show up and there's like all these TV stars, and I don't know how to have small talk. I just remember just being so exquisitely uncomfortable, and you were just warm, and you were Sarah, but I couldn't wait to leave.
I remember that Halloween party. It's my birthday, so it's like,
Oh, right. My birthday's 5 days before yours. So yeah, I remember that. And you were around then, and it was nice. I didn't see you a
yeah.
lot, but it was nice that you were here.
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing is that when you're following your heart like this, when I'm following my heart, I was born in Toronto. I was raised in Winnipeg, but I was born in Toronto. And so shooting that show, coming back to where I was born, now I know our life it
Yeah.
goes in these cycles, right?
So after acting, I mean, not after, but you did move into directing.
Mm-hmm.
You started a production company.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Yeah,
continuing on?
yeah, it just keeps growing. Actually, I was in a band when I was in Falling Skies, and that production company has existed for many years. So I was using it to produce music, produce my music videos, and it was during my time on Falling Skies that I started to look behind the camera and feel that that was a direction for me, a possibility for me to, put the baseball cap on and run the whole show essentially. So I was quiet and patient in my pursuit of the director's chair because I wasn't sure. It's a lot. It's deeper, and the commitment is so, like, now that I'm in it, when you're selling an idea from conception and then pushing it through to completion, it is like Herculean, the strength required to continue to believe. It's one thing to believe in yourself. Like as an actor, it's pick me. And then what do you want me to be? Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm that. And this is great. This is easy. And then like you go to bed and it's still their show. They still have to write all of the lines, and they have to decide what to do with each of the people they choose to be a part of it. But I knew that I had that capacity because I had it was very easy for me to be an actor. That's the other thing. It was very easy. It was like I said, it was like a lifetime. It's like my hot ticket to have a trip around the world, basically. And then Falling Skies happened, and I started to feel this new capacity. And because I had all this core energetics training and recognition of how fulfilling it was to help everybody, to, or not even help everybody, that's not what it is at all, connect with everybody, to feel like there is no difference between you and me, and everybody is essential, and I am extremely limited in terms of my capacity to contribute, but can I lead and organize groups in a way that empowers everybody to bring their skills, their best self, and, make something magnificent as a group? That is something that I've always known is
Mhm.
possible, but I just didn't have the skills of, you know, the technical skills, the camera skills, the so I started to really, observe everything. And then I was writing. There's several scripts that I have yet to execute that are my own, but it's always easier for me, at least, when someone invites me into something. So that moment came where I was pregnant and noticing that, as much as the industry likes to pride itself on welcoming family, they don't. Not at this level. If you're a superstar, then yes, they will make it work. And it seems like stars can have these amazing families, and yes. And I was able to work on bigger shows. I was able to take a job on The Flash, and I was able to take a job on SVU when Alice was a toddler. But I could see that from my friends who were still trying to break in as actors or directors, having a family was not easy. So these two women who had young kids invited me to workshop this screenplay with them. Totally fell in love with them. And I decided, we can do this. We can do this outside of the box. No stars, limited budget. If the three of us pool our resources and our energy, we can make this happen. And we did. And it is such a unicorn film in her name that we premiered at Tribeca, which is one of the top festivals. And then I had to like fight to get distribution. I noticed I did this world tour and we won like 50 plus awards. And they did that. You can't actually get this film distributed if you don't have stars. So you can do really well on the festival circuit, but then no one wants to buy it on the other side. No one wants to put it out. So I talked to Tribeca and I said, this is a major flaw in the system. So, we won an audience award. Can you not, like, let's make this happen, and then be the brave platform that actually does support independent filmmaking, walk the talk, and let me be one of the 8 films that you actually get behind, because you're Tribeca. You can do it. If Tribeca says, watch this film, Apple TV will say yes. And it happened, which is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Tribeca is, they are walking their talk. And now Tribeca Films exists and we're a part of it. So yes, my current mission is to have Cheshire Moon Productions be a company that invests in the unknown, so that if I believe in the work itself, if I believe in the artist, then I help them to go through a process where they can actually create something that will be seen and will have life. Just because we're meeting on a regular basis, we're meeting on a weekly basis, and I'm saying, I see you. I believe in you. I believe in this.
You've done so many incredible things. So we can do like a quick recap of the evidence of your incredibleness, because you said that only one person who was going to graduate from your theater school was actually going to make it. And then you made it, you got your first 6 jobs you auditioned for, and then you got a 5-year series, which I understand to kind of be the dream if you want to have steady, regular work. And then you got a few more shows, then you got a film distributed. But then, we started out with you saying you just launched your new website and you're terrified. And I
Mm,
feel like most people think that oh, well, if you have a certain level of celebrity and fame, no matter what you do, is going to be easier than starting from nothing. So, what exactly is so terrifying about this after all of that?
I think because I'm always playing to lose.
Hmm.
You know? Usually my instinct takes me away from whatever direction I thought was going to give me some kind of security, safety, fame, and then that moment of pivot is usually because there's some, it's awful to say, but some disaster. The rug is pulled out from under me and I'm forced into alignment. I'm forced into that, soft landing of soul because that's the eye of the storm.
Yeah.
And even though I know in a deep way I'm safe because I know myself to be resilient and I know myself to be centered in my heart, I never know how the outside world is going to be receptive. And then you bring money into it, and it's a whole other story, which I really do want to talk about, Megan, because I have always had money. I've always been able to be magnetic, in some way. But if now as a producer, and I'm saying, all right, this film is going to cost 7.5 million. Trust me, it's going to be great. It's like, no, that doesn't really work. You have to have spreadsheets and you have to follow a budget and you have to show your spending reports. And I'm obviously doing that. You can't get anywhere without doing that. But I am right now in this moment in that space of how do I articulate and practice holding both magical thinking and the practicalities of
Money.
business. Yeah.
Can I tell you how?
Yeah. I tried to listen before and my system shut down.
That's what happens when people start talking about archetypes for me. If you think about money not as this like means to an end, but as a tool of positive prosperity that
Mm-hmm.
is the ticket to freedom and the ticket to unlimited potential and choice, then it is
Mm-hmm.
part of any enlightened life because it allows you to do the work that's in alignment with your soul. If you do not have that money, you're going to be doing work that is out of alignment. You'll be doing the work for the money only. Like you're constantly working for money. If you can organize yourself like you do a production with spreadsheets and like you don't have to do it all the time. It's not like a daily thing or a monthly thing or even generally once you have the habits an annual thing. It's knowing for your personal life. And I truly believe that you cannot have success in your own business if you can't have success personally, financially,
Mm-hmm.
because they operate on the same principle, which is to you live your life like you operate your business below means, below
Mm-hmm.
what's available. So if you truly understand, like with a production, you have a $7.5 million budget, you have to come in under budget
Mm-hmm.
or hit it. But it's easier if you're under because then it's not as scary. If
Mm-hmm.
you're living your life below your full earning potential, like if you could live on 40, 50, 60%, I would try not to go higher, though it's kind of hard not to, of what you earn in a year, you will not worry about money anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that simple. So you first have to understand what's my cost of living?
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, you need a spreadsheet. You need to look at where all your money goes in a year, not in a month. Because you could pick a month where you're like, well, I was cooking from scratch this month and it was fine. And I didn't go shopping and no one had birthday parties. And, you know,
Yeah.
so if you do it for a full year and you're like, oh my goodness, okay. And then you categorize those expenses and be like, whoa, this is what I'm spending at wherever you think you go occasionally and saying, like, wow, that's $10,000 a year on that, picking up a
Mm-hmm.
t shirt here and there, whatever the store is or Amazon. And then seeing how much is actually not essential and also not in line with your core values, not enhancing your quality of life, not bringing you joy, not helping you build a project, not in alignment, not for something for your child. It suddenly becomes exquisitely simple to refine your spending. And the more you live in alignment with who you are, the less you actually need or want to spend money.
Yeah.
It's like there's a cost to being avoidant of the topic.
Yeah.
So
And I've
there,
certainly been down all the way. I've been up all the way and I've been down all the way. And now that I have Alice, I will not go down all the
yeah,
way.
yeah. And that's what wakes people up when they have a child, for
Mhm.
their health, for their future, for their
Mhm.
money, for their home, for their relationships, with not just with the partner or the father or mother of the other father or mother of the child, but with who you allow your child to be around, even the conversations that you'll have. Like that can wake you up to a lot when you're consciously parenting. And the money thing requires focus and commitment just to understand the basics, but it's not that complicated. And I think, I said to you how when I was operating my business, I constantly felt like the success of it was a fluke, but it wasn't really. Like my company was earning a lot of money and I was not spending it. And that was just how it went. Like, when we started having like 7-figure years, net surplus, 7-figure years, I didn't live any differently because my objective was to be free.
Yeah.
And that's why now I don't have that fear, because having the financial freedom has set me free to fully live within alignment with my heart. And whoever comes along for the journey, that's great. And whoever doesn't, also great. I don't have to be approved of by everyone or anyone for that matter.
Yeah. So beautiful. I think the wisdom that I have around the nature of things, and because my life has been so tumultuous from the get go, I'm wired to follow something through to its death, so to speak, which I know sounds really dramatic. It
I
is dramatic.
understand.
It is dramatic. And as an artist, I think I do that as well, where I'll ride the wave of this journey. In Her Name, for example, there was a mentor who said to me, every film you do is going to take a small piece of your soul. And I was like, oh my God, that sounds awful. And then I really did go through a kind of hell. COVID hit, my brother passed away. Everything in my life was unearthed in the process of birthing this incredible piece of art that will live on, and it shimmers. But I really did have to lean into the wisdom of the life death life cycles and trusting that there would be a kind of abundance on the other side of this if I could just fully trust the process when it comes to money and budgeting. And I'm doing a home renovation right now, and it's truly terrifying
Yes.
because the walls are down. I'm standing there going, they could charge me 3 times as much as I have to put the walls back to. All they have to do is start telling me that, I need to change the plumbing because of some structural issue, and the whole roof has to come off. And I started to feel like this is enormously vulnerable. This is my house. This is there's no way I'm not paying to have the walls put back together. And so even that, I guess what I'm trying to articulate is I have this unshakable wisdom around, yeah, you think it's going to cost that much, but be prepared to lose everything all the time. And what happens is that on the other side of it, on a rebellious day, like I also have this flippant quality that goes, you've always wanted a Porsche. It was on your vision board from when you were 16. You have the cash. You can walk on to the Beverly Hills Porsche lot. And so I was going through a breakup. I had that moment. I would never do this. I would never, ever do this now. But I'm just saying it is it is in me to be like wildly impulsive and allow myself to have the rush of let's go to Paris tomorrow because we can, and then trust the universe to, you know, figure it out on the other side. So it's hard to sacrifice that.
It's hard to sacrifice that. I think the only way you can, and I had another guest on the show who had a lot of success really early and bought the big fancy house overlooking the ocean and the big fancy car, spent all his money, and then was like, whoop, well, now I got to go
There it
back to
goes.
work. And
Yeah.
it definitely can happen. And I think the only way for it not to, especially in, we talked before about, being in the industry you're in, where it's like it comes in these
Yeah.
like swoops of cash and then you don't know when it's going to come again. But having a commitment to, I don't want to call it like a security or a secure future because that sounds too constricting, but it's a commitment to freedom ongoing. And
Yep.
if a splurge is out of alignment with that commitment to long term freedom, then at what cost is it worth it? At the cost of your peace, at the cost of, even if it's at the cost of a night's sleep worrying about it, is it worth it? And your answer still might be yes, in which case I think the exercise and the practice is just an accepting and being okay with the uncertainty. I recently wrote, I don't know when this comes out, if it will have aired yet, but it was an episode on how letting go of what you built could be the greatest gift of your life.
Oh God, that's terrifying. Yeah.
Well, I did it and it
Yeah.
wasn't. And it's like this idea of just like loosening the grip on what you think you need to hold on to. And I think the pivot process and what I'm learning and, exploring this topic and talking to so many people about it is that's exactly what the
Yeah.
process is. It's
It
constantly
really,
remembering to kind of let go of what you're holding on so tightly for and continuing to gather the evidence that whatever happens, you'll figure it out and it'll be fine. And it might be more than fine. It'll be beautiful, more beautiful than you can imagine.
yeah. This is how you have to love, with an
Mm-hmm.
open palm. And I think where I'm at, ironically, in this conversation and in this pivot in my life, is I really am devoted to uh, creating structures that protect and serve the dream, because it does feel more sacred than, I have my daughter and my home and my mission and my husband. And within each of those things, I'm trying to give as much freedom as possible to my daughter, to my husband, to the process of this renovation, to what this business actually wants to be. It's this process of listening. But what I've never done that I'm now doing my best to do is step into boss mode. And because I'm so allergic to this conversation that we're having around,
I can see as we're
you
talking, I
know,
feel like you kind of started moving
I'm like leaving
backwards.
my body. Yeah, I know. Because I've been so feminine and I've had so much success being in the flow and in the chaos and following my instinct without too much concern for how I'm going to land and what there is to lose on the other side. I do know that home to me has always been something that I have felt I need to build. And these financial structures is something that I have to build. I'm so grateful I spent my money, the first, you know, huge amount of money that I made, I put into real estate because I wanted a home. I got married. I've stayed with the same, sweet, sweet partner for 15 years because I am so deeply devoted to investment in what I believe in. And my daughter is my everything, the things that I really care about. And now my business is finally aligned with a mission statement that I spent years cultivating and articulating. So it is a less fun part of the conversation. So let's say I've had all of these courageous pivots, maybe, more than the average person. I'm pivoting all over the place. But to say that the real courageous pivot is what I'm doing now, which is how do I really get behind and structure and devote myself to what matters most to me, what really lights me up. And, there there is a very real structure that needs to be established in any kind of dream. Like we're human beings. So even though it sounds like some impulsive, brave moment of the universe conspiring to support this, new direction, it's actually never that. If it really works out, it is the result of tremendous intention and strategy. So, and I hate saying that. I don't want those words to come out of my mouth because I like the magical piece.
I think they work together.
They have
I
to work
I
together.
know they work together. It's that you cannot resist one side.
Mm.
Like if you have the resistance to it, you're pushing it away.
And also stepping into boss mode, which is something that I really, I do want to help women, especially
Yeah.
on, is to be a boss is not ordering people around and thinking that you know the way and that you have all the answers. To be a boss for me is something that I have cultivated over time and through listening to something bigger than me. I actually have conversations with my visions, the back and forth dialogues. It's prayerful. This thing is bigger than I am. That's moving me, and that's how I've had to get into boss mode. Is oh, it's not me. It's actually me working for something bigger than me
Yeah.
and me holding space for this group effort,
Are
whatever
you
it might be.
comfortable with that title?
Boss?
Yeah.
Well, no, that's why I've had to like create all of these justifications for telling people what I think they might need to do in order for
Oh,
whatever
because
to
I
happen.
never used that title. I never thought of myself as a boss.
No,
I
but I
always,
do
I,
think
I
there is.
always, when I had a team and I learned how to be a better, I always called it like a leader of the team because that's how it felt. It was like I came up with the ideas and the team figured out how to put the plays into action. And it was for me learning more how to delegate, not accountability, but responsibility and trust that these people were all more than capable, better than me at what they were hired to do of bringing this goal or this dream to life. And it helped. It made it easier in that way instead of being
Mhm.
like, I need to have it all figured out. I need to know what's what. Like, I didn't know
Yeah.
what I was doing half the time. So,
That's the I think maybe the most important note to end on is you never claim to know. It's really just one step at a time and having, strong footing in the moment and trusting that as you take these aligned steps, something is building because it's in alignment, but you never know exactly what it is. And I think that's what makes it exciting, and that's what makes it magnetic, and that's when people want to jump in and play because there's something exciting happening.
it's alive.
It's alive.
That's when it's alive. And all I would say, like from the outside looking in, it's going to be so great. It's good. Stop worrying about it, Sarah. You're fine. Your house is going to be beautiful. Have you been through a renovation before? They're
No.
horrible. Horrible. And you start dealing with life in like ridiculous denominations. And like, could everything just stop costing $5,000 to $10,000? Like, can we stop
Yeah.
with those denominations?
You lose perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Huge numbers.
That's why we were doing our kitchen
We're
and
talking about tile. We're
yeah,
talking. I'm like, I don't care anymore. I don't. I don't know if I care.
no, you don't care. And we don't like our backsplash at all. But at the time I was like, this will work. And this isn't going to create more happiness in my life if I dwell on this. It's just going to cost more
Mm,
money if I dwell on this. And right now, I'm perfectly happy. So I'll be happy with whatever the backsplash ends up being. And that was kind of how I took it. I did not change my mind once we had the plan set. I was like, this is going to be excellent enough for the life I want to live in this kitchen or whatever the room was we were doing. And that's how I got through it.
I love that. I am not doing that. I am dwelling and obsessing and changing my mind and wanting to know where every tile is from. It's, I don't know. It's a whole thing. So more, we'll have another conversation.
I want to have another conversation with you in a year when hopefully your
Yes.
house is done. What's the timeline?
You know not to ask that question. It's
No, but
supposed,
it's like, is it like 6 weeks, 6 months, 3 years?
oh no, we're supposed to be done this phase at the end of September.
Okay, so probably December. That's great.
Oh God. Yeah. No, let's have a conversation in a year and we'll see how it all. So the other thing is like holding space for the unknown with these courageous pivots is like you
Oh,
go
yeah.
in one direction, but what happens almost every time I make a strong choice is that another opportunity presents itself that is sometimes the manifestation of a dream I had in, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And, and then you just
These things are
evolve.
never on our own timeline, but that's the exercise, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to share before we wrap up?
Well, I really do want to thank you for having me and for living your life the way that you do. It's just so inspiring. When you started eating raw food, I started eating raw food. I am amazed by the joy that you emanate. It is truly contagious. And it makes me feel safer in the world, knowing that there's other people out there just being themselves boldly. And then in terms of what I'm doing, I really do hope that people check out CheshireMoonProductions.com. I have workshops happening both online and in person in LA about trusting yourself and listening to that higher guidance. The next one is every act is a creative act, so that, we can all circle up. I hold circle sharing and support each other to align more boldly with our dreams. So, exactly what we're talking about now. And I'm just hosting book clubs, and I have this ongoing Petite Salon event. It's like a music and film festival at the Petite Armitage Hotel rooftop in LA for both emerging filmmakers and then dinosaurs in the business who have so much wisdom to share and great new musicians. It's a sexy night out where you just come away feeling so heartened by Los Angeles and independent filmmaking. So yeah, please do follow along and stay in touch, because my whole life is about community and inspiration at this point. We need each other.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for listening through to the end. We have links to all the things Sarah mentioned and all her offerings on the show notes. You can go to courageouspivot.com or find Courageous Pivot on Substack, which is the best place to go to find all the resources. And we also have a link to her film there and the offerings she mentioned near the end of our conversation. If you're also curious about the Money Mastery course, which we did get into, you can find a discount code to that if you go to courageouspivot.com. You'll get 30% off Money Mastery. You should probably do it if you don't yet have a grasp on your finances and how you plan to pivot to follow your dreams and how money can be used as a source of freedom, as I talked about. Thank you, as always, for tuning into the show. If you heard something here today that resonated, please share it with a friend. Share it on your social media. Help us spread the word about the important conversations we're having, the deep ones, the vulnerable ones, the terrifying concepts that come with pivoting. It's all about reaching out to those who are ready to align with who they are in this moment, follow their heart, the divine guidance, whatever you want to call it, to live in a frequency of positive, powerful prosperity and joy so that we can all be the little sparks in our lives. Thank you, as always, for joining me. I am thoroughly enjoying creating this show for you, and I hope you are enjoying listening. If you feel inspired, leave a review. It means a lot, and it's very helpful. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Thanks for joining.